You're listening to Joe List's Mindful Metal Jacket on the Riotcast Network, riotcast.com.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joe List, and you are listening to Mindful Metal Jacket, the podcast. And hopefully you are listening from inside the confines of your home and you are self-quarantining. I have a cough. It's lingering. I had a little bit of a cough due to cold last week. A couple times I've thought I had corona. Who knows? Dry cough or whatever. But as you may or may not know, I have reflux, silent reflux, I think combined with lingering cold. Pretty sure. Healthy. I've had no temperature, no fever, no chills. And I was sneezing a bunch last week. So I think it was a regular cold, sore throat, and I've had these before. So don't worry about me. Well, you can worry about me if you'd like. It's nice. I'm worried about all of you. Are you guys doing all right? Email me, tweet at me, tell some friends. For God's sakes, this is a good time for people to be listening to podcasts. You're home, and this is an anxiety podcast. So what better time? Maybe this thing can blow up during this. Get some positive out of this. So tell some friends to check out Mindful Metal Jacket. I got some book recommendations. I've mentioned a lot of them on here. Oliver Burkeman, The Antidote, talked about. That one's great. Any Thich Nhat Hanh I recommend. Peace of Mind and Happiness are my favorites. Jack Kornfield, A Wise Heart. He's got a bunch of them. I forget his newest one that I loved. The Wise Heart was my favorite one. Huge role in my life. Tara Brach has a couple books. She has a podcast that's great. I use the Calm app and just try to stay sane. I've been going for walks, staying 3 feet away from everybody. Open the windows, let the sun in. You got to get some vitamin D, some vitamin Dizzle. And reaching out. I'm reaching out a lot to a lot of people, and I appreciate you listening. Today's episode, we have Ari Shaffir. You may hate him. You may love him. You are probably not, what's that word when you're neither? You're probably not neutral on him. I love him. I mean, don't get me wrong. It drives me crazy, but I love the guy. This was recorded months ago, I think before Thanksgiving. Even, or right after Thanksgiving, maybe. So no mention of the Kobe incident. We don't talk about it. This was pre-Kobe. But we do talk about right up front Ari's penchant for sort of trolling and kind of having people not like him. We talk about that right up front. That's something that he's always been into and enjoyed, and I don't. So that's a big difference between us. So we kind of discussed that a little bit. And it takes us a little bit, but we end up getting into his depression, his bouts with depression, how he dealt with it. And we talk about mindfulness and mushrooms and all that good stuff. It was a long talk. I went to his apartment. His little dog is running around. I think you might hear the dog a couple times, or he'll talk to the dog. But whatever, yeah. So it was one of the earliest ones we did. And like I said, I think it was November-ish, so quite a while ago now. He's dead, but I'm doing well. And yeah, people keep reaching out and people are worried about me. I appreciate it. But they say that people with high anxiety and stress and panic actually do best in situations like this. I've been preparing for this my whole life. I think the key I've found, and I know the key, is to do the best to stay in the moment. Go a day at a time and even a moment at a time. When you start thinking, oh my God, this might be till August or September, or the world economy is going to collapse and all that stuff, first of all, most of that you can't control. We can't handle it. It's comforting to me that we're all in it together. It'd be one thing if just I or just you were quarantined and you start thinking, boy, everyone else is making money, everyone else is doing whatever, and I'm stuck here. We're all in it together. And everyone wants us to succeed and be okay. So we got scientists working on it. We got economists working on it. The leader is certainly disappointing. It's not who you would want, but I'm a New Yorker. We got Governor Cuomo. I feel safe with Governor Cuomo doing things. I love that guy. And We got the smartest people in the world working on it. And so you can only do what you can control, which is comforting. And take it a moment at a time, a day at a time. Right now, I got my feet up. I'm sitting in my bedroom. I'm in my living room. I got my feet up. I've been reading. I'm talking to you guys. Watching Seinfeld, season 6. That's the best season. Just watched a movie called Swallow for the second time that I loved. It's available to rent on iTunes. I watched Taxi Driver, Raising Arizona. You know me, I love the Coen brothers and Scorsese. So watch some movies. I've been playing mandolin. Maybe see if you can learn an instrument, read some books, meditate, reach out, text, call, and also feel gratitude for the life you were leading. Maybe you weren't feeling that grateful. I'm sitting here going, man, I actually love flying. I love hotels. I got a good life. And I'm grateful for my wife. My wife is here. And not right now. She's out for a run right now. But yeah, we're doing okay. We'll be okay. You'll be okay. Are you listening to me? You got my voice in your ear? You're going to be all right. That's what I say. So we're in uncharted territory, but we're in it together. And, wash your hands, keep a few feet away. And eventually it'll get better. And then how fun is that going to feel? We all go back at it. How good is it going to feel to see some family and friends? So take care of each other. Take care of yourself. And I think we'll be okay. Excuse my cough. That's mostly reflux. I don't want you to worry. I got this reflux issue. It's annoying. Hey, we have a sponsor, which is exciting. And I talked to a woman that works at this company. She couldn't have been sweeter. And she gave me a book recommendation that I'm now reading. And you should also read. It's called Wish I Could Be There, Notes from a Phobic Life by Alan Shawn, Shawn. Ordered off of Amazon. It came here, and I'm reading it. I'm really enjoying it. So that was a nice service that she provided. And something else that she did was she sent me a scale, body composition Wi-Fi scale from Withings, Withings, Withings. This is a Body Plus body composition Wi-Fi scale. And I have been using it. They were nice enough to send me one. I've been using it. I love it, especially in this time when we're all home with nothing to do. It's pretty great. You set up an app, you get the app going, and you use the scale, and it gives you all kinds of stats, your BMI and your weight and all kinds of crazy stuff. Weight trend, your muscle trends. It counts your steps for you. It can tell you the weather. It's a smart scale, which I had never heard of, but now I have, and I'm using it. Sarah's using it. We're loving it. I think it's like up to 8 people can use it. You can attach like 8 different people. You can use it for your pet. You can use it for pregnancy. Are any of you pregnant? You can use it. It weighs your baby. I don't even understand how it works. I'm not a smart guy, but it is super cool. I really love it. But lowering your weight even by 5 or 10% can decrease your health risk. Did you guys know that? You can get healthy with this thing. It helps you get healthy. Maybe your New Year's resolution went out the window, but it's not too late to make the move to a healthier life right now. Withings has more than 10 years experience making connected devices to help anyone take control of their health. They've been around a long time. By the way, Serena Williams uses this scale. You can hear her in interviews talking about it. It's the scale that Serena Williams uses and Joe List uses. I've never had a scale in my house. It's pretty awesome. But I'm loving it. This company was founded more than 10 years ago. Withings produced the first commercially available smart scale, and they are still considered the best. Withings now has an ecosystem of award-winning connected devices beyond the scale, like hybrid smartwatches and blood pressure monitors, known for their accuracy and ease of use. This is a good time to get healthy. I mean, there's a crazy virus going around, and so this will help you. I mean, maybe you'll get obsessed with it in a good way, maybe in a bad way, but that's something you got to work on in your own time. It's pretty awesome. If you want to take control of your weight or just add muscle and lose fat, a Withings Smart Scale can help. At every weigh-in, you get a free, At every weigh-in, you get weight, full body composition, weight trend, even a local weather report. In fact, Tom's Guide recently named Withings Body Plus Best Overall Scale of 2020. No arguments from me there, Tom. Right now, you can get 25% off Body Plus Body Composition Wi-Fi Smart Scale at withings.com/mindful. That's Withings, WITHINGS.com/mindful. Mindful, one word, one L, MINDFUL. Withings, master your vitals. Seriously, get one, folks. Anywho, I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like this episode. It's me and Ari. We're old friends. I love Ari, and he likes to get under people's skin and does the thing. So my apologies to you if you're offended by Ari, but he's a good person. With if you hate him, he's a guy with a different sense of humor than you, but he is a great guy, good person, and he's been a really, really good friend to me. And he's an incredibly thoughtful guy and an incredible charitable, I would say. Is that the right word? Generous is the word I was looking for. Really generous guy, and he's pure comedian. And a good man. We have a really nice talk, and we show some gratitude for each other at the end, which was sweet and touching to me. And we talk about, like I said, some of the controversies involved in. We talk about depression, anxiety, hypochondria. It was a really good talk. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember all of it, but I remember really enjoying it. And so please enjoy this conversation with Ari Shaffir. And I thought for my quote of the week, my little love, my little wisdom, I would go with one that I know and tell myself all the time from an old, late, great rock and roller. My wedding gift from Ari Shaffir was tickets to go see Tom Petty at Forest Hills. And here's a quote from Tom Petty that I love. As sure as night follows day, most things I worry about never happen anyway. Tom Petty, we miss you. Everybody, take care of each other. Love one another. We will get through this. Thank you for listening. Here I am with Ari Shaffir. All right, we're live. This is it.
We are live.
We're recording.
Okay.
I'm
excited for you, man. A new podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm nervous. Well, it's anxiety-inducing because life is anxiety-inducing. But
yeah,
you have a podcast.
Yeah.
I've done your podcast.
A few times.
You're a podcast host. So now it feels weird.
What?
I'm afraid it feels like I'm just on your podcast or in your home.
Do you ever do that where you go on someone's podcast and you just start interviewing them sometimes? Oh, but you don't really do interviews on Tuesdays.
No. And I don't want this to be an interview either, as much as it is a conversation.
Yeah, but a guided conversation.
That's a guided conversation. But I'm happy to have you ask me questions also.
Yeah.
Because the people care about me, Ari.
True.
It is my show.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fucking hate you, and you're okay with it. I want to talk about that.
I've accepted it. I don't love it, but I've accepted it.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I mean, when people are like, I don't give a shit. It's like, who really doesn't give a shit? I don't believe that. Not letting it hold you back is like, what can I do?
Right. No, there's a lot of people like that. And then you kind of go, oh my God, I got to be like that. But it's like, well, we've had this discussion too.
When you say, hold on one second. Wait, I'll just do this.
What?
When you see like this person.
Yes.
They're the type that I don't care, but it's like you do.
Yeah, totally you care. But we have a difference opinion in this sometimes. And I don't want to go too much into comedy stuff because I want to talk about anxiety and whatnot and mindfulness and all that stuff. But it all correlates, I guess.
It correlates.
But you have the thing of never apologize. You don't apologize.
No. Okay.
That's what you used to say, at least.
Misconception.
You've said that to me.
I never apologize publicly for an attempt at humor.
Right.
I will constantly apologize to a person that I've wronged.
Right. Well, that's different. Yes. I mean, obviously, which you do that a lot also.
What?
But you wrong. Yeah. People.
Yeah. I like how you say it's the only thing that doesn't make me the worst is that I'm willing to say when I'm wrong.
No, that's not what I say. I don't say that keeps you from being the worst, but I'm saying it's a quality that I like about you.
Yeah.
Is that you're very quick to be like,
if not for this, you'd be the worst. You're the worst, but except for this thing makes you not the
well,
worst.
some of this is hyperbole, of course.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were talking about a woman and you were like, she needs to lose 50 pounds. And I was like, 50? And you're like, you're right, probably, less than that. And I'm like, all right.
I said 30 and you're like, 8!
I
don't know women's weights.
But anyways, also I had to do that because my wife was with me, so I was like, he's a good guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But So you're against the public apology, because I have a thing. I'm like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or offend anybody.
Right.
And so when people are hurt, I'm like, oh, geez, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, well, I just never understood why go to the public. Let's just say I made a joke about you, or I revealed some secret about you.
Yeah.
Cheated on your wife or something like that. And I did some joke about it. And people are like, that's so wrong. How could you do that? Like, for me to go to everyone in the world and be like, that was wrong for me to do that. That might not be the best example.
That's not a great example, because it would be it would have to be about a race of people. It'd be like if you said whatever, fucking.
But even they
and
usually
then
say like, it's like, let's say you were like sexually not molested or assaulted. What's the word? Sexual shit you do at work?
Harass?
Sexually harassed. Yeah. Some lady at work, and she like said, this guy, he's my boss and he sexually harassed me. To go publicly apologize is like, what?
Yes.
Go apologize to that person if you feel sorry.
Right. I don't owe the public an apology.
Yeah.
But sometimes I said a racial slur already 2 minutes into our podcast. So I owe an apology.
Spick?
But no, I didn't say that one.
Oh. Wow.
But I'm saying sometimes you say so-and-so is a whatever.
Yeah.
And then they want you to apologize for that thing. It does seem silly to apologize to the entire.
Yeah. It's like, what are you talking about? I
public.
can't do that. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to all black people who were offended at whatever. It's like, I don't know. It just seems dumb. And also I think what it does is it shows other comedians that like you should have lines that you shouldn't cross, instead of like finding lines by crossing them.
Right. Which you've done.
Yeah, all the time.
Right?
Yeah, all the time. But
I remember
you lose crowds by going too far. Like let's say innocuous examples, because that's a better way for me to understand these.
Right.
Cursing too much on stage sometimes.
Yes.
You could feel it and you go like, I'm cursing too much.
I did that last night in Portland. I
Really?
said that. I was like, I've said fuck way too many times.
And then you're like, I got to pull it back.
Right.
On your own, you realize that I lost this crowd because of this. I got to pull it back.
Right.
But now you know the line a little bit better.
Right. But that's another interesting thing. And again, I don't want to get too into this conversation, because this conversation takes place everywhere. And I think people are sick of it. But there's another thing with like stand up, it becomes in that room and you're like, it's feeling weird. Let me not do that.
Right.
Whereas when it gets put out into the public, it's harder to take it back, because it's just becomes a quote. And it's like, so-and-so said this, and then everyone hears it out of context.
And then you have to feel bad about it. I'll take it back into your podcast topic. Then you have to feel bad about it and feel like regret and shame.
Right. Which I feel all the time anyways.
Yeah. Did you ever read that book?
Which one?
The one that Walsh signed?
Oh, no. So you've been publicly shamed?
Yeah.
No, but that was a big mystery in our life for a long time. Chris Walsh signed this book as though it was the author.
I was talking about it just with your sister-in-law. She was like talking about it. I was like, oh, interesting. And then I just like took it off your bookshelf, and I believe this is still the same copy. And then I was like, Joe, can I borrow this? And I want to read it. And you're like, sure. I'm like, oh, awesome. And then right in front of you, right then, I opened it up and I was like, for Joseph, my number one fan. Thanks for all the blah, 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 blah. Best John Ross. I'm like, oh, you met this guy? And you're like, me like, oh, yeah, I don't know what you're pulling. I want nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, it took about 6 months to realize that it was Chris Walsh that gave me the book. So he was the one that signed it. But no, I never read the book, but I do. That is a number one fear of mine, is having this happen, because eventually it feels like it's going to happen with Mark and I. And we've recorded. I mean,
it will for
we've said such wild shit. And even before my podcast with Mark is, you know what, dude? And I was drinking on that podcast. I was younger and less wise and drunk.
Zeitgeist.
So whatever the fuck. I mean, you could pull up a lot of horrible shit, but so I live in that fear. But you seem to not be too worried about that.
Okay,
you're
I'm not worried
looking
about
forward
it
to it
because of like depression, and mushrooms have helped me realize like this world is like temporary, and some of these things are inevitable and they're going to happen, like death.
Right.
This public shaming shit, it is coming for both of us.
Right.
So there's a sense of peace in that.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's horrifying, but yeah.
So
but you worse. You're bigger.
I'm bigger for sure.
And I feel like you've ruffled more feathers.
I enjoy, Luisa Diaz says this. I think it's such a great way to say it. She talks about these 5 different types of comics. I got to get all of them. But the one that I am is the one who likes destroying gods or killing gods.
Okay.
Which is
I like getting laughs.
What?
I like getting laughs.
Yeah. But the way you're going to get laughs is different things.
Right.
But, and so it's like either killing religion stuff, like destroying that, or like if everyone reveres, I don't know, some celebrity, that's kind of a god in
Right.
that moment, or a topic. So you want to like destroy that because people are worshiping an idea.
Right.
I'm one of those. So that's what I do is I ruffle feathers. That's the enjoyment. So
Right.
Of course, if people walk out angry, some of those people are going to complain to the manager on the way out.
Right. Which is what, and Louis has always been that as well. And now he's getting like heightened shit of like, he said he'd rather Auschwitz. And like, it's like, well, that's what he does.
I don't want
That's
to
what
ruin
he's
the
been
joke.
doing.
I've seen that joke, but it's like, you guys are intentionally leaving off the joke part of it.
Of course. And they act like it's a
Wow.
statement because Sarah was reading it to me.
But the last part,
Right.
they left out the part that is the joke and acting like it's a statement.
Well,
it's
and
a
they
double
made,
like
they say it like he says this,
Yeah.
as though he was like fucking New York sucks so bad that Auschwitz is
my
better.
favorite. I saw one by tweet that or report, and you made this clear to me. I saw it was like trending, and I was like, oh, and then it was like 13.5 thousand tweets. I was like, that's nothing.
Right. Which I love that great stat, which helps me anxiety wise. Again, is that like I think it's like 88% of America is not
Even on Twitter.
Yeah. And then I think it's like 98% of tweets are tweeted by 1% of the people. Most people don't actually that are on Twitter don't tweet.
Yeah.
Like my friend Derek, who you know, he just reads tweet. He's not tweeting.
And of those tweets, of the 1%, half of those are Kumail Nanjiani.
But so I want to go back because you
Okay,
didn't used to, because we've talked about this
Keep me on
before
track.
a little bit. You didn't used to be. You used to be anxious. Is that right? And you
Yeah.
went to therapy and everything.
I was suicidal.
You weren't all right. So
Yeah.
take me into that because I'm suicidal right this minute.
Are you for real?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm never actually.
Anxiety
Genuinely-
and depression are like kind of different, right?
They're different, but they sort of lead to
Same
the same
family,
place.
yeah.
Anxiety leads to depression.
mental brain sprains.
I was talking to my friend Sean Joyce about this. Do you know Sean Joyce?
Yeah, he's an asshole.
You think so?
I don't know.
Oh, I love him. I think he's a great guy. But I think he rubs some people the wrong way because he's a booker.
I
So
really don't think I know. Wait,
the
where's
nature
Sean
of-
Joyce book?
He's a DC guy. The comedy underground, Big Hunt.
Oh,
yeah, those
I
rubs.
met him before.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I really
and he's a
don't know.
smart guy.
I will say, fuck Go Pack Joe. That guy sucks, and I'll never come off that. And I've met him
Oh.
since I talked to you earlier, and he fucking sucks for real.
I want to interview
Fuck
him.
that guy.
I want to talk to him because I think he's great. But so Sean and I were talking about this, that for a long time, like he thought he had depression, and I've been in the same position where I'm depressed. But in reality, it's just your anxiety is so bad that you're like, let me stay in the house so I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. So staying at home and not want to get out of bed or do anything is all the symptoms of depression, but it's really anxiety, which I think some people have depression without anxiety.
Right. I didn't have anxiety.
You just had depression.
But there was, let me ask you if this happens, because I was trying to explain it to some of my friends who didn't have it. When I was like, why? I mean, why suicide? And it's like, do you ever like pull like an all-nighter studying? You went in the
Not studying.
year
No.
in college you went to?
I
or
didn't
high
go to
school?
college
At
for a
all?
second. Zero.
I don't know how we're friends.
I'm smart though. I'm smart. Not like everyone says. I'm not dumb and I want respect.
Well, or you're just up a lot, up all night drinking or whatever.
That I did, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
a
then
lot.
like you have a response, you have to go to an interview or something. And so now you're up and you're just like this overly tired, you know,
Yeah.
like fuck. And now you're getting on a plane, maybe on
Yes.
2 hours of sleep. You've had these moments where you're like
Yes.
so past tired that you're like, you got to get on a plane to go do the show. And at some point you're not even thinking clearly, like, fuck the show. I just want to go to sleep. I don't care. I'll miss all this money.
Of
I'll get
course.
fired and never work in this town again.
Yeah.
Because you just want to sleep. You just can't handle this fucking brain pressure of not sleeping anymore. And now you do that and extend that to months and months and months of this mental problem.
Right.
So with depression, it was like trying to explain to people, like, I just want this game to be over.
Right.
It's done and I can't take it anymore. And if that means just this long sleep, Theo Vaughn had a good bit about it once. I don't know if he ever did it on anything, but he goes, you want that deep sleep? That deep sleep. He's talking about suicide.
Right.
But like, so do you get that in anxiety where you're like, I just need this to be done?
Yes, of course. That's what therapy is all about for me now. And I've been going to therapy for a couple of years. And now I go there and be like, just tell me what to do and I'll go do that because I need to end this suffering.
handle
There's
it
so
anymore.
much suffering. And now I realize I wake up, I meditate, I go to AA meetings, I go to therapy, I'm reading Buddhist books because I'm like, I have to do everything I can to deal with it because I'm tired of fucking suffering for my whole life. And then you say this game, I want this game to be, is that in reference to showbiz or comedy or just life in general?
Yeah, life.
Like relationships?
No, just life. But it's like, if the game is this shitty, you know, if you're down 35 points at the half in basketball, you know, and it's 45-10, you're like, ugh, can we just hurry up and like, just let's get out of here and extend that to a fucking 75-year life. It's like, this is over.
Right.
And it just wears on you after a while. I can take so people like mistake depression for being blue.
Right.
You know? And it's not, it feels the same, but it just never stops, you know?
But somehow you're stuck. Now, what period of life are we talking about? Teenagers or 30s or recently?
No, more recent. So I got it in, I was married for a little bit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
also.
that was crazy. I was like a whimsical 2-week dating and then like, fuck it, let's get married.
Yeah, that seems weird.
But when she left, I really think all these mental problems are just sprains on the muscle of the brain.
Interesting.
You know, and there's no real cast you can put on it because it's not like a fucking muscle like that you work physically. The brain is a muscle. And so pills or whatever is like the cast for that.
And did you do that? Did you take medication at some point?
It was mushrooms and medication.
Did somebody recommend mushrooms that were they prescribed?
I had the SAG insurance therapists or psychiatrists or psychologists. I don't know the difference. Saw them for a while and they're all terrible, the ones that take insurance. And I had one didn't help. Then another one was like, we tried a few different pills. And then I was like, these aren't working. And they're giving me dick disorder.
And but where's the therapy? You just went to a doctor who was trying to find the right combination
they're talking
of
me
pills?
Through it and also getting me pills.
So it's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, they do both, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a therapist. He's not a doctor.
Oh, right. Okay. So first I saw a therapist.
Right.
And I was talking about, I don't know what, just something. I was trying it. And then my friend, Chandra, Rogan's manager, we were just talking one day and I was mentioning how I having like thoughts of like ending it. And she was like, brought this up to your therapist? And I was like, no, do you think that would be, I should bring up? She goes, I would say, yeah. I'd say, just mention it. Knowing full well the guy's like, let's stick on this for a while.
Right.
But what was I going to say? Oh, and then I brought it up and I think they like passed me on to someone who could like prescribe pills.
Right.
And that guy couldn't. You know, legally or whatever.
But did he take a crack at it? Did he go, what were your parents like? Did you get finger fucked in high school?
Some
or
good
what?
ideas too. He said some things I really liked. He was like, all right, so with depression, it's like, what's good about it? And it was interesting way to look at it, where he was like, where he was like, forget all the bad shit that's come with it, you know. Tell me something good. Like, let's say you bomb horribly on stage, you know, and it's just like, that sucks. I don't want that. And like, what's good? You're like, what do you mean what's good? There's nothing good. They're like, something's good. Like, you don't hang out and party afterwards because you're embarrassed. So like, you get a good night's sleep. You go home to your hotel room earlier.
Okay.
It's not worth it. But he goes, just isolate the good and the bad.
Right.
You know?
Finding a positive.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that's a good. So I found some positives about depression. I forget what they were. But it was like, I could see some, and he was like, that's a way to start like thinking positively about stuff.
Now I want to know what they are. I feel like that would be beneficial to people.
Yeah. Damn.
I guess if you have no ambition,
I know what it was. I know what it was. It gave me the idea that like, maybe I'll just see comedy through. I was a struggling comedian too.
Right.
So some people say like, now that I'm doing better in comedy, that's when my depression went away, but it wasn't that. My depression went away and that led to me doing better in comedy.
Right.
So I decided like, I'll just ride this out, whatever money I have in the bank from commercials or shit like that. And then when the money runs out, I'll fucking finish it.
Well, there's something beneficial about getting yourself to that point of like, I could kill myself. Yeah, and then you're like, I guess I don't really want to do that. But I always think too, I'm like, if you've gotten to a point where you're accepting that life is miserable and not worth living, instead of killing yourself, why don't you try anything else other than kill yourself?
Yeah.
Why don't you try
like shit like that? That's what everybody has a bit about.
Who has a bit about it?
A bunch of people. Why not do a bunch of heroin? Metzger has a bit like that.
Right. Or try to take a shit while doing a headstand, or let me try to go to the movies, or whatever the fuck. And obviously, I'm not an expert, so I'm afraid that people with depression are gonna be like, it's not like that, bro.
Jeff Raleigh did that.
Who's Jeff Raleigh?
Amazing skater. I had the first dark slide. I think the first one to land a dark slide. which is like take your board and like, so
he's a
the wheels in the
skateboarder.
bottom, you flip it over on a rail, go on the outsides of the wheels.
Okay.
And then slide down that way.
Oh, wow.
And the reason he attempted it was because his girlfriend dumped him and he wanted to die. And he goes, I don't care about my safety anymore.
Wow.
And then as soon as he landed it, all the fucking 14-year-olds saw the video and they were like, slow. Got it. I can do it now.
Right.
But someone needed to do it first.
Well, sometimes there's the positive, if like the one thing, if there's a trigger to your depression that's like an event, like your father dying or your girlfriend leaving you or whatever, there's something about, that's all you think about
so
for
I'll talk to you about that.
a year. And then you get over that. And then you're like, well, during that year, I wasn't worried about anything except for that. And now I'm not worried about that. So I should be worried about nothing. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
If you're worried about nothing for a year except for this one thing,
okay,
but it
so
gets
now
replaced.
Let's compare it to the sprain. So you stepped wrong on a fucking sidewalk and you sprained your ankle.
Right.
Well, you're no longer stepping on that sidewalk. So the sprain should be gone, but it's not gone because the sprain maintains.
Well,
So,
that's
like,
not
whatever the
that's not a
triggering
perfect analogy.
It's not perfect, but it's close enough because maybe you can
Because
understand it.
the sprain in this situation is the worrying about the girlfriend, and if you're no longer worrying about the girlfriend, the equivalent is your ankle has healed. For the analogy purpose.
Yeah, it's not because the thing that's causing the sprain, the stepping wrong,
Right.
is no longer there. The hurt in the moment is gone. So your dad dies, or that's a bad example. You lost a job.
Sure.
Now you found a better job a year later. But the losing the first job put you in a depression. You found a better job. So it's not even the girlfriend because you didn't get the girlfriend back. You found a better job. It's more empowering and it pays better. Better benefits also. Everything's better about it. A shorter walk to work instead of a long ride. It should be gone, but it's not because your brain is still sprained.
Okay,
You know
but
what I mean?
I'm saying in my example is with the girlfriend, you do eventually get over it because
You get over it, but there's always still pain remaining from that shit.
time does
You
heal.
ever think about a girlfriend from like 15 years ago and you're like, yeah, I don't care at all. And then somebody's like, what happened? She goes, she fucking cheated on me, man. And you're still like, oh, it's still in there a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's
Yeah.
always still there because that going back to that is the sprain of rejection. Of
Right.
I feel not good, and I still feel not good enough, just not specifically in that.
Yeah. But you
instance.
get over the cause, but that thing that fucked you up, you never put a cast on it. So
Right.
it's still there. So what the pills did, so this guy eventually told me, oh, and I remember a good thing that came mentally, depression helped me look at material that I was drawing from on stage in a darker way that I thought was more interesting, you know, than a hacky whatever.
Right.
It came from like a darker, I don't know, more raw place.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of the times I have bits that are dark, and then sometimes you realize, like we talked about earlier, they're too dark.
Too dark.
Where I'm like, oh,
I was
geez.
trying to do it on Thanksgiving. I was like, guys, this is the best time to kill yourself. And people are like, oh, I'm like, no, it's a selfish act. So what better way to be completely selfish than to ruin someone's meal they cooked all day?
Right.
And you have like 3 people laughing hard and everyone else just going, opening with this?
Right.
You know, but yeah, whatever. But anyway, the point is, that's one of the things that helped me. That was like, that is good.
That the material.
Yeah, the material got better.
Okay, so how does it start
my
to?
instigating trigger, I think, was that girlfriend, that wife. We broke up. She left. She was the one in charge of cleaning the house.
Right.
Cleaned the house, stocked the fridge. I paid rent and did whatever.
And you hadn't dealt with depression before that?
Zero. So this was like 30 years old.
Wow. That's
Yeah, always pretty happy. Always pretty happy guy.
because, and then you're a big Jew.
Yeah.
Which I find because I've gotten really into Buddhism, and I feel like what happened? Oh, Ari's dog is running away, and as is my thought process. Ari has a new dog, and he's what a cocksucker. Does that depress you? I'm sorry, you guys can't hear Ari. The dog is, that's all right. The dog is pissing on the rug is what's
No,
happening.
he was in the bathroom. I know he likes to piss on that rug. Don't you? You like pissing on the rug? This is a fucking thing that'll help you not be depressed.
Really? Is it? It's like a, what do you call it?
She's just so happy.
Oh, what do you call those
Gazebo.
spiritual dogs?
Spick.
No, what do they call that?
Therapy dog.
You bring on the airplane. Yes,
Yes.
a therapy
It
dog.
can be. I went to Sirius XM. We'll get back to it in a second.
You serious?
And God, sometimes I think you should kill yourself. This is twice now today.
It comes up.
And the guy was like, "Oh, you can't have that dog in the offices up there." And I was like, "Yes, I can." Like, I'm not going. I'm about to be on air in 5 minutes. Like, I'm not leaving it out. Like, what, you know?
Yeah.
And the guy was like, it's a therapy dog, right? Like, gave me the hard look. I'm like, correct. And he goes, thank you.
Well, that's
Sign
not,
me here.
yeah. But they all are. I mean, couldn't they all be
They all
therapy
can. You just need a
dogs?
fucking-
It makes you feel
it's about
better.
as easy to get as a fucking pot license
Right.
in the medical states.
But the Judaism, doesn't that being Judaism, I'm an idiot with all things religion.
Yeah.
It's very similar, it feels like, to Buddhism. There's a lot of similar
Maybe.
premises, and a lot of Jews go on into Buddhism. Mike Kaplan, Gary Shandling, those are two.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have a
Both
lot
dead.
of Buddhist qualities. Mike Kaplan's alive and doing very well.
Oh, interesting.
But everything I know about Judaism feels like there's a lot of like being in the moment. There's no afterlife, togetherness.
No.
break
There's
and
an
break.
afterlife in
I thought you had
Judaism.
no afterlife.
No hell.
Oh, hell.
Yeah,
Oh,
we have
yes.
purgatory
Even
and
better.
heaven.
Oh, that's nice.
11 months of purgatory. That's everybody goes through that. It's just either hotter or less hot. They got to scrub you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then sometimes they say every day in purgatory is 1,000 years in earth.
But doesn't it feel like Judaism's all about doing nice deeds for other people and then
It's in
controlling the
moment.
weather?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then the act of it gets lost. Like Christians are supposed to be nice people, but the Crusades,
Right. But do you think you carry a lot of your lessons of Judaism principle
for sure.
with you?
I was there till I was 21 years old. I was like super Orthodox. Like that shit's in me.
Right.
The way I treat women, the way I like all of it. I'm like a network television raised guy.
Do Jews treat women well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Respect. Yeah.
How about that?
So then when you want to like just get your dick sucked and they're like, hey, I can't be like, suck that dick. Even if they want that, I'm incapable of really doing that.
What do you have to do? You have to be like, you mind sucking my dick?
I
What?
get moved into it. I have to get I have to like get pushed into it by them.
What woman is pushing to suck your dick?
They're pushing me to push them.
Oh, I see.
Well,
Well, I can't follow this logic.
sometimes you got to take it. They want you to, but they can't say that. You got to fucking do it. Like those people in college. You don't know this. They were like verbal consent at every level. May I kiss you? May I remove your bra? May I do this? And then you ask a regular woman that like, absolutely do not say out loud, may I remove your bra? May I kiss you? You're
Now,
out of your mind. I need you to just go for it.
You think I wouldn't be aware of that because I didn't go to college?
Oh, well, there was a big college thing.
Verbal
Consent.
Certainly, I still understand relationships and sex, I feel like.
No, but in college, they were really pushing that idea.
Right.
Consent is what you must get. And that was from 18-year-olds who were like, you've never been in the real world. You're
Right.
telling 26-year-olds how to act when they don't want to act that way.
Right.
Where were we on all this?
I don't know, Judaism and Buddhism being similar.
No, but
what
I think
leads
if
Jews
it's just
to
a
Buddhism?
sprain,
Buddhism?
it's still, you're capable of becoming depressed. You're capable of having sexual.
Well, of course,
dysfunctions
everyone's
and, like,
capable
stuff
of
like that,
becoming depressed.
There are these Orthodox Hasidic Jews who jerk off on the subway. It's got nothing to do with their religion, but they caught that bug.
Well, I'm not saying Jews are perfect and incapable of jerking off on the subway. There's a lot of horrible Jews, a lot of damage done by Jews.
Yeah.
Some might argue currently right now in the Middle East.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, not maybe. Certainly people are making that argument.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, a lot of the Jews I know, Matt Ruby's another one, very spiritual guy.
So what
Kaplan, my
about-
friend
but
Dan
still have
Hirschon.
depression?
No, nothing to do with depression. I'm just saying it seems like a lot of Jews get led into spiritual places. Like Jerry Seinfeld's another guy that's big into TM. My friend Renan Hirschberg's a Jew that got into TM. Yourself, you're big into mushrooms and exploring all this bullshit.
Questioning is part of
Is there
our-
a connection
it's part of our
there, or is
heritage.
it
Maybe
just
questioning is part of our stuff? The
Yes.
Talmud is all questioning what the Torah and the Mishnah says.
right?
So like we're just taught to like question everything. So then it's like the problem is, and I'm doing this in my special now, my next special, but it's like then you turn that on the religion itself. And like, no, question your surroundings. Don't question us. But like they really teach you to question. It's really part of our like heritage.
So what led you into, because I feel like we were going down that road, into this alternative medicine or mushrooms and out of
Mushrooms.
whatever depression was recent, and now you seem like a guy that's relatively not unfazed, but less phased than most people I know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So it's some combination of the pills and the mushrooms. And people say like pills are overprescribed, and they might be, but I kind of resent it when they say overprescribed and they mean never works, because I believe it worked for me.
Of course, yeah. I'm not a no medicine guy, but it does. I mean, you're a guy that's into conspiracies and big state and all that shit. Clearly, the pharmaceutical companies have.
So there's the one I find that finally worked for me There were tons that didn't work. Remeron was one that it gave me like the side effects were like crazy and wild, but at the same time, some didn't even work. So like Wellbutrin didn't work, but also I could never come.
Yeah, I had Paxil and it was hard for me to come.
Yeah, and
my
I didn't
dick would
know
be
that was
bleeding.
a side effect until I was fucking my girlfriend. And I'm like, I just can't come. And we did like 3 nights in a row. I was like, what the fuck? And she goes, oh, maybe it's those pills you're taking. And it wasn't like what's the word where you think it's going to happen because you someone tells you that's a side effect, then you end up becoming true.
Placebo?
Something like that.
Okay.
You know? Because I didn't know that was a side effect. And then we looked, I was like, oh, damn. And they're like, hey, this isn't working. And I'm also like not getting anything out of it. And I can't come.
Right. Which is depressing.
Yeah. And then that therapist that assigned me that one, or psychiatrist or whatever, she goes, well, I don't know what else to tell you. And she just gave up on me.
Yeah, that feels like there's a lot of that. And it feels like I've grown. My therapist now that I've had for 2 years was way, way more helpful than Paxil ever was, like by light years.
Yeah.
Of just like, first of all, I thought I had something wrong with me, that I was cursed, that I was like, I have a disease, it's hereditary, I have anxiety and panic disorder.
Because you don't talk about it as much, so you think you're the only one.
Yes. And then I went to, they were like, oh yeah, you do have a problem. Here's some medicine that will help curb it. And I went, okay, great. And a lot of it, again, placebo, you're like, okay, this is work. I'm taking drugs, so it must be better now.
Yeah.
And then eventually it just comes back, of course, because you're not treating the fucking ankle sprain.
Well, okay. So what I think what the pills do is they cover up so my therapist, so eventually those therapists didn't work. I was done. I was like, I just need to work up the courage. At some point I will. I just don't have it yet, but at some point I'll work up the courage and I'll just do it, you know? And in that time, my friends were like, they were put in a bad place because like, I wasn't hiding the depression. It was just like, it was all of me. So it's like, I couldn't even hide it. This is my normal comparison. Like it'd be a 75-degree day in February in Los Angeles. And so it's great. I love the weather, you know? And I'm getting to my car and I look and I'm like, oh, my gas is almost empty. And I don't particularly enjoy filling up my gas tank. It's a small annoyance.
Right.
It wasn't the money. It was just a small annoyance. And instead of going like, oh, whatever, I just got to stop. And then maybe I'll go hiking. Instead, I'm like, fuck, I got to fill up my fucking tank.
Right.
And I couldn't concentrate on the 75-degree day.
Right. That's what I think a lot of people have in our society. It's a huge problem with our society. Instead of just adding all this excess resistance, instead of just immediately accepting, okay, I'll go get gas.
Well, yeah, a lot of it's just like, there's a word for it, but comparison.
It's like, simile?
No, it's like when you're putting yourself, it's when you go into something, expectations, managing expectations.
Right.
So like this dog now, my girlfriend is working super long hours. We didn't expect this, super long hours in this install with all night. It was supposed to be she could take it to work or I'll take it during the day. And then at night she'd be here, you know?
Right.
And the puppy, we didn't know, couldn't go on walks, couldn't go to the park until she got this next shot. So it's like fucking tough. And it's hard on both of us right now. She's got crazy work that's already hard on her. And then it's like, oh, who's going to take the dog? And I told you I was hanging out with you and Norman. And I'm like, I don't want to leave this conversation.
Right.
But I have to. And so then I'm trying to now go, well, same thing. Like what good is coming from this? So I'm about to go to Colombia for Spanish immersion for a couple of weeks. And what I find is I'm best at making friends when I'm loneliest. So I went to 17 days in Hong Kong. My first, like, not Hong Kong, China, my first tour. First 6 or 7 days, I'm a pretty lonery guy.
Yeah.
Didn't make any friends. And then I was so overcome with loneliness that when I got to Hong Kong, I was just like, what are you guys all doing? Hong Kong comedy scene, you know? I was like, let's go out. Let's do stuff. What's your name, Ben? Oh, cool. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, this is where bottoms are actually a positive thing.
Exactly.
Like, I feel that way. I'm grateful that I fucking wanted to kill myself and was in such a bad spot because it led me to much better places.
Yeah. So this thing is making me not be able to see my friends. I just got off the road. I haven't really been able to like recharge my friendship thing, but this will help me in Colombia next week. So, you know, it's expectations.
Right.
You either focus on the negative or focus on a positive. And you're like, that's not bad. That's actually being great. And maybe make a friend in South America.
No, that's a huge thing that is, I realize more and more is like that is an option, is to note. And that's where like mindfulness comes in.
Mindfulness.
Of like, oh, I'm being negative and I don't have to be this negative. Where I was doing that even this morning where I have a full schedule and I'm like, I woke up too early because I had anxiety and I have this full day and I'm just going to be tired. I'm already anticipating being tired later. And meanwhile, it's like when I'm at home, if I have nothing to do, I don't even go to bed. I'm like, I could be up for 22 straight hours. I'm like, I could watch this movie. I just want to finish this. But it's like, oh, I have to be at the Comedy Cellar, so I'm going to be so tired. But I'm like, what am I going to, I'm not going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I'll be able to be awake.
You know, like, I'm a comic. I sleep till 1 p.m.
I'll sleep later. I had this with my therapist when I was having insomnia for like 6 days. I'd sleep for like 20 minutes a night. And he was like, well, what do you worry about? Eventually you'll sleep. He's like, when's the last time you went to an insane asylum because you hadn't slept for 3 months straight? Like, you're going to fall asleep. You're just panicking about it.
I said once a long time ago, I realized that comics are immune from insomnia because we don't have to be anywhere.
Right.
So like we will eventually just sleep.
Right.
You know?
But so going back to like the mindful thing of like, oh, I'm just being negative about this thing. And meanwhile, I'm like, I take a moment to be fucking mindful in the moment. I'm like, what I had to do today was go to MMA, which is fun. I go there.
So cool. You could do that on a weekday.
Yeah. He's like, see my buddy Diego.
Can't.
He's smart. It's like, I'm in the moment. I'm doing it. I'm getting stronger and better. Then I come home. Like, I only have an hour home, but I'm like, I have an hour home.
Right.
It's nice. I'm like, I sit around. I eat a nice breakfast. Now I'm coming to meet up with you and just talk with you.
Friend, we're talking shit on a fucking way to make a fucking living.
Yeah. It's not hard. Bullshitting. And then I'm going to therapy and I'm like, that'll be great. Also, I'm like, and then I'm going to do sets. I'm like, I have nothing but.
Like, I've been working for fucking 5 straight hours. I can't. And you're like, and your friends at home, like your high school friends, like 5 straight hours is not. We do 8 hours every day.
Right.
Every single day.
Right.
What are you talking about?
I know.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Then I feel guilty as I'm saying this. There's people listening to this that are like, yeah, I've been roofing for 12 hours straight.
It's
but
just
even
what
that's
you're
like,
used to.
you have a job at least. You're making money. But there's ways to look at positive.
Yeah, you might be turning these up too much.
Things.
Can I just see what volume?
Am I turning you on too much? I put it at the volume you told me to put it on.
43?
Yes.
Okay, it's set at 80 right now.
Oh, fuck. So what does that mean?
It's going to be loud.
Why is it at 80? I put it at fucking 43. Maybe I leaned on it.
Right now.
Should I turn it down right now?
I'm trying to think. Hold on for a second. Let me think if you should turn it down or not, because I've done this before. It's just going to pop a little bit. So when I go like this, maybe did you turn it down?
I turned it down 1 point.
That's fine. That won't matter. I usually, it's fine. I just noticed it like popping.
Can't you do it in post? Turn the volume down or something?
You can turn it up in post easier.
Okay.
Turn it down. You'll still get that pop. It's okay.
Well, now you're giving me more anxiety. I was on a good tangent there, and now I'm terrified about this.
You will, and it's kind of annoying as a friend, and I'm sure my depression was annoying too, where it's like, Joe, it's not a problem. Calm down. Like, you're slowing us down with your fucking anxiety. And I was depressing everybody with my depression.
Right.
You know?
No, I feel that way all the time. I feel like that's another thing that I'm trying to be. That actually helps me more when you realize you're impeding other people.
Yeah.
Because you value other people more than you value yourself with anxiety and depression. And I feel that way with my wife, where I'm like, I got to rein this anxiety and OCD in because it's bothering. It's fucking up her shit now.
Right. Well, you said a few good things too, where you're like, I thought maybe that guy's going to hate me. And then you're like, I don't care if that guy hates me. He's fucking me over. It's okay for him to hate me.
Well, that's been the main problem throughout my life, is wanting everybody to like me and then trying to protect myself from any negativity whatsoever, which this day and age, being a public figure with social media makes that impossible. But it takes, again, a lot of suffering for me to realize like, oh, why don't I just not care about that? And then I will suffer less. And then you can also, going into Buddhism and mindfulness, start feeling for these people, because people that tweet at strangers and write, the sound sucked, your podcast blows, or this set, those are, I try to have sympathy for these people, or they're troubled, they're fucking hurt, or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And
or
you could try to
say something funny and just not hitting it right.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm talking about the people that are like
trying
just
to be
fucking
dicks.
assholes, which I think there's like psychological studies that they're actually shitty
assholes.
People.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't be friends with if you did know them. It's not just an online thing. It's
right.
Like, oh yeah, this is why you would say things like this.
Well, we have that right now as we're recording. Mark and I had a podcast come out today that I thought was like the best pod we've ever done.
Yeah.
And then my mic cord was fucked up and the sound was fucked up. And so we started getting like, hey, Joe's mic is fucked up.
Yeah.
So then I like apologized and talked about it. And then most fans are writing, hey, it's all right. It was still great. It's still better than any podcast Ari's ever done, stuff like that, genuine stuff. And you're like, oh, all right. I was all worried. Most people are like, yeah, just fix it.
Yeah.
It's one episode, whatever.
Hey, be careful. You only coming out of one speaker. Oh,
right.
Fuck. Sorry about that. I'll get it right.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot more flies with what? Honey? Something like that.
What?
You catch a lot more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Oof.
You ever hear that saying?
I think so. Maybe like being nice.
It's just like, hey, just so you know. And you're like, okay. And it's like, hey, fuck face. You fucked up the thing. It's like, well, then get the fuck out of my life. Why are you acting like this to me?
Right. Well, we've talked about this
No, I'm not going to fix it.
And this goes in with what we're talking about is like, it's so weird when you meet these people, and there's a lot in comedy where you're like, so your thing is being an asshole?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're choosing that.
But that's what I do publicly. I'm a heel. So I do like that.
Well, you're doing a performance. I'm talking about the people you meet at the table and they're just being
jerks right away.
Shitty.
It's like, oh, what a way to go.
Right.
Argumentative and just like, well, best of luck to you. I have no interest in being around you.
Yeah. And that's another thing that's nice with age is that you realize you're like, why do I need to be around
that is good
this
about
person? I think I've told you this story before with, it was like a epiphany in my life when I was about to get sober. I wanted to get sober and I was hanging with Gary Gulman.
Yeah.
And we were talking and I was like, okay, sure. And we were talking about the benefits, how it benefited me to stop drinking. And I was like, but what do I do when I'm at a bar or a party where I hate everybody? Yeah. And he's like, you go home.
Yeah, you don't like everybody.
And it like legitimately had never occurred to me. Like, all right.
Wow, yeah, that makes complete sense. Wow. Isn't that fun how when someone says something obvious to you, you're like, oh, yeah.
But that happens so much. And then what happens is you're like, okay, this is going to be an influence on my life. And then slowly you revert back to old habits and it fades. And then someone tells you again, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to fucking meditate every day and read these books every day to keep hammering myself. And that's when I have an understanding of religion of like, oh, you study it every day to keep those principles in your head.
Okay. So in that vein, that's what mushrooms did for me.
Okay.
It's like this forced meditation, forced high level, short term meditation, where you end up, if you take a high enough dose, you just see, I call it the truth. Some people say it's God, some people say it's nature or whatever, but it's to me, it's like a universal truth where like this is. And whatever you see when you're there, it's great. And to me, it's beautiful, but like, then you come back, you stop tripping and you come back and you can only hold on to like 5% of that. And then that 5% starts to fade over time. And then you go trip again and you're like, oh yeah, that's truth again. And now you're up to like 7% and it starts to fade again. You do it again, you're up to like 8% and it starts to fade again. So it's like the more you do it or the more you meditate. So what Duncan says is, I'm like, I think there's like a place you're actually going. It's some sort of weird connection to like, I don't know what you're seeing out there. And so when I hear people like, I had this theory that when you hear people come, you ever see somebody tripping on mushrooms?
Not that I know of, maybe, but I didn't realize.
So when they come back from like a heavy trip, not just like a cap and a stem where you're like pretty much there, but like when you're out of it and then like just gacked out, staring at the wall, and you're just like, oh, and then you like start talking, but you're not making any sense because you still got one foot in that world and one foot in this world. So your vocabulary is failing you because it's not able to describe what you're seeing over there. And so you start saying stuff. My theory is whatever that person's saying, you listen really hard because what they're trying to say is, I'm over here in this crazy place you can't get to, and I'm trying to describe it. So it won't be a perfect description, but write it the fuck down. If they're like, it's Margaret, we got to find Margaret. Like, okay, let's get, instead of going like, you're not making no sense. It's like, right. Of course I'm making no sense. They just went in fucking contact world,
Right.
So what Duncan says is, he goes, yeah, dude, but you can just, the thing is, mushrooms, I'm not a fucking spiritual guy like that. I'm not like, you go to a separate plane of existence. I'm like, nah, it's just a drug fucking with you, giving you a certain thing, the way aspirin gives you a certain thing.
Okay.
He goes, since it's not a really different plane of existence, what you're doing is you're just forcing your brain to think a certain way with mushrooms. He goes, you can get there with meditation.
Well, it's
available.
That's what I'm interested in. Now, does he do mushrooms also?
Yeah.
Because that's what interests me. And I think Ted Alexander said that to me a long time ago, is that you can get there. And all these Buddhist, and so many of these Buddhist guys that I like, Jack Cornfield and Ram Dass and all these guys.
That's his big guy.
They used to, what's that?
That's Duncan's big guy.
Ram Dass or Jack Cornfield?
Ram
Dass. Boston guy. Both those guys are Boston guys. But those guys kind of experimented with mushrooms back in the day and now have that thing of like, I can just get here without that. And that's what I'm interested in. I mean, mushrooms always interest me as well, but I have this.
Do you ever do that kind of yoga that you breathe in and out real heavy?
Yes. Yeah.
That got me close. I tried that for October. We had to do all these classes and I didn't. I was like, whoa, I'm kind of tripping out here a little.
Yeah, well, so that's the journey I'm on, is like, so I have this insecurity that I have to say meditation and Buddhism and journey, like there's a little journey.
Yeah, it's lame.
Because I feel like I have to be like, because I don't want people to think I'm gay.
You sound like an actress. So I get it. And you can't sound like that. So you got to make fun of it.
I was doing that with Sarah the other day. We're in the hotel and I'm like, I got to meditate, but I'm like, I need you to like not look over here.
Yeah.
Because I'm like embarrassed.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
But that's something I need to get over too. That would actually be progress to get over, because I'm still, I can't go through to this other side while I'm still worrying about what
you look like.
my wife, the love of my life, thinks of me.
Did I do that when I record podcasts, like in a car or something? I'm recording intros. I don't have time, so I'll just do it while I'm driving. And if someone pulls up next to me and looks at me with a mic in my hand, I just have to lower it. I get so embarrassed.
Well, fucking, that's what in Colorado you wanted to record a podcast at a hockey game. I'm like, this is
put it on something.
insane to me to walk around, because like everyone, we're just drawing attention.
Yeah.
And I think my insecurity or my whatever just thinks everyone. That's why I don't tell anyone I'm a comedian. They just assume you suck. They just assume you're a fucking idiot that bought a radio and like, this guy thinks he's a radio star.
Yeah.
It's just like embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. And if they don't know you, that's exactly what you are. Just some guy.
That to me is the biggest benefit of being a celebrity, is like that they could be like, oh, that guy, he's good. He nailed it.
I mean, when you see somebody filming themselves, like talking with a thing held high, usually black people, and they're like, hey, just going to the store, doing whatever. And you're like, ugh, you roll your eyes. But then you realize that's what Bert does all the time.
Right.
And it's like half eye roll and half like, well, you're selling out, theaters because of it.
Well, when you see a film crew, usually white people, just like nerds with a camera set up and one of the big white fucking umbrella things to light, don't you go, this movie sucks. Whatever they're shooting blows. I'm sure of it.
And you might be like, that's The Departed.
Right.
Like, oh, really?
That's why, to me, like that's the best. We've talked about this before. I think the best part of doing a late night set in comedy is that you get to be like, oh, you do comedy? Yeah, I was on the Tonight Show. Where they're like, oh,
okay, that's universal.
All right.
Like, okay.
And instead of like, I'm at fucking Pete's Redneck Bar and Grill in Toledo or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird.
But that's all ego. And then do you have that with Mushroom, where your ego
fades away completely?
Right.
Like it eviscerates it.
Right.
So you can look at yourself the same way you did. I did a 10-day.
You can look at yourself? Yeesh.
I did a 10-day meditation in Thailand and got there a little bit where they're just like, you're just observing the world.
Right.
And one of those things you're observing is some guy who's upset at his girlfriend for cheating on him. And then you realize like, well, people fall out of love. And what they do is sometimes they don't tell the person they fell out of love. They just kind of like find someone else because it's too hard, to tell that person. You're like, I fell out of love. It's a tough, difficult conversation. I can understand that. And then you realize, oh, that guy in that story is me. Oh, and that girl. Okay, I get it.
Right.
I get it. She fell out of love and she didn't know how to say, I fell out of love. It's hard.
Right.
And so then you're just like, forgive. Because there's no ego. There's no like, you wronged me.
Right, right. Well, forgiveness is an important
So mushrooms do
quality
that.
and peace.
It crushes your ego. So you look at yourself just on the outside in, but you know more about yourself than you know about anybody.
Of course.
Let's say your words, there's a flower. That's not fully what describing. It's a flower that looks like a demigorgon when it's all closed up and it's orange and like there's more to it. So you'd have to go like endless words to describe a person. And I don't know enough about you to describe you. I have an idea of what you are, but I have a way better idea of what I am.
Sure.
So you can look at yourself, knowing yourself like backwards and forwards without any ego. And it's those moments where you're like, I see the truth.
But isn't it sometimes more difficult to analyze thank you, yourself than it is somebody else?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to go inward and be introspective.
That's what the mushrooms do.
Right. But that's what, to me, like we're recording this right after Thanksgiving. I was home for 4 days being in the house I grew up in, and then I ran at my high school, and then I went and did comedy with all the people I started doing comedy with and all these places. And it was like this overwhelming thing because you can tap into all those fears you had in high school or in your mother's house,
and then you realize those
or
are
in comedy.
And like Ralphie called them uptown problems. He starts complaining, and then this is privileges. This is an early version of privilege. You start complaining, and then you realize like, oh, yeah, I'm complaining about only making $500,000 this year. These are uptown problems, also called white people problems or whatever they want to call them. But it's like when you go back home and you realize like, oh, I've got it good. My problems aren't that bad.
Well, but I mean, it's also trauma is trauma, and it's all relative, where it's like, I don't think it's actually that valuable to go to your high school and be like, God, I was so fucking terrified of getting bullied and fitting in, and I wasn't getting what I needed from my parents. I don't think it's that valuable to be like, but there's homeless people. I think your problems, there are real problems, and they're real feelings that you have to deal with. And in some ways, they are similar to whatever that person is feeling. I'm fed and I have clothing and shelter, which is a positive.
I saw this thing that somebody needs a certain amount of strife in their life. And so the level of strife you feel as a American is equal to the level of strife you feel as a third world country, like in your own feelings, you know? You can compare them, like, obviously this one's less than that one, but to yourself. Coolio said this once, the old Jon Stewart show on UPN. Remember that?
No.
Coolio was on there, and Jon Stewart was being self-deprecating. And he goes, well, you know, you had to deal with like drive-bys. All I had to deal with like once a year, the bully stole my lunch money. And Coolio was like, but dude, and he said it the same way. That took the same place in your mind. The same fear, the same level of fear for you was the same level of fear for drive-by. Obviously, getting killed or having your friend getting killed is worse. But to a kid, it occupies the same level of fear in your head.
Well, and it's the same wiring. And that's why we still have fight or flight or freeze they've added, where when somebody's like, we need you to stretch and do an hour instead of 30, that you go, oh, that fear is the same fear that a caveman when he saw, or a guy in the jungles of Africa now, when he sees a tiger, is like, something, your brain is triggering the same thing.
Yeah, and you might break. You might snap mentally.
And going back to that thing where it's relative, is like, there's a lot of white people that come from rich families that are suffering more than someone that is barefoot in a village, because that's what they know, and they're actually quite happy. There's documentaries of...
Right.
They're people like, we're all together and we live together, and I am a valuable part of this small society. I chop down the tree and she catches the tiger. Yeah, everyone
knows your name, and it's all people like, oh, that's a harder life because they don't have shoes. And you're like, no, everyone knows their name. You're putting your own capitalist values on them, right? And saying they have it worse, when sometimes I look at you and like, you have it worse. My friend is a traveler, Rolf Potts, and he does speaking engagements. He wrote this great book called Vagabonding, and he does speaking engagements, and college kids, they will always inevitably ask him, have you eaten dog? And he's like, oh, this is going to sidetrack the conversation. Right. And he was like, okay, in countries like Korea, where dog is not looked down on, they have a dog food festival every year. It's just not looked down on. He goes, but just so you know, I know we're all looking like, how could you do that? They look at us like, how can you abandon your elderly? And they shit on us for that. Right. We put our elderly in homes instead of taking them into your own home when they raised you. And so it's like, where are you going to put your values? I mean, which one's really worse?
Well, I mean, I feel that way. I mean, this podcast keeps getting somewhat political somehow, and I don't want to get too political, but like, I feel that way with like our healthcare system, where I always feel like we're having the wrong conversation in healthcare of like, should we have universal healthcare or should we not have universal healthcare? Is a fucking backwards, strange conversation. The conversation should always be, how can we possibly provide?
How can we get healthcare?
Everybody? How do we have? Yeah. I mean, it seems like everyone should want everyone in the country to be healthcare accessible.
When everybody argues, they're like, you can't do that because of this and this. Like, okay, but let's say we could, we should do it, right?
Right.
And they'd be like, yes, but like, don't but just for a second. Right. Say yes, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, let's figure it out from there. Where
if you got a solution, I want to hear it. That's what that should be said.
Right.
Not like, that's fascism, that's capital. It's like,
and not like, well, they should have worked harder. Yeah, they should have got a job with health insurance.
I feel like everybody's on the same side with that. It's just you get caught up in the politics of it.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's neither here nor there. And every time I say anything political, I'm afraid of people tweeting at me being like, "You fucking."
That's like separate from political. That's just saying like, hey, I get what you're saying though.
But yeah, boy, we went in a hot spot there for a minute. Now it's come apart.
So
we had to start back over again.
The trigger was the girlfriend leaving. I didn't clean my apartment because I was used to not cleaning on my own. After 4 years, I just got used to never cleaning. So it just started building up shit. I became a hoarder. My friend had to come over. I stopped going up. I wasn't doing as well on stage. I stopped going in. I would just wallow. Couldn't get out of bed. Like Rogan would always say, like, you know, bless his heart, but like, he'd just like, just get up and do exercise. And you're like, ugh. And that manager of his, Chandra, she was like, Joe, you know, he can't go to the fridge.
Right.
Exercise is like it's out of the question.
Right.
And Joe actually ended up buying me a non insurance psychiatrist.
Oh, nice.
He was like, I will pay for it. I can't have you like this anymore. I can't have you down on everything all the time.
Right.
And this guy was $180 per half hour, I think.
Jesus.
Way out of my range at the time.
Yeah.
It would be tough now to swing that.
You know,
I could do it, but it'd be like, oh, Jesus. No, I could do it now. But like, I couldn't do it. So instead of just accepting death, he was like, just see this guy. I'll pay for it. And the guy was great. He found a pill that was abandoned in the 80s because of that Pfizer shit. They weren't like pushing it.
Right.
It was cheap. And if I remember it, anyone listening at home, you can't take what any fucking person you've in your life or a celebrity has taken. Everyone works differently for each person.
Yeah, it's a chemical. We're all different. Yeah.
So don't even ask. Like, I'd like to take. It's not like a shirt at all. Like, trust your therapist over any of this. And the Remeron gave me. Oh yeah.
A kid just screamed like someone fucking stuck a poker up his asshole.
Dude, they scream like they're being murdered.
It sounded like, someone was shaving his feet off.
That was the biggest. I didn't realize, like, I can't do podcasting here. They'll tell, the assholes will be like, it sounds like someone's screaming on the mic.
Well, they might be able to hear the dog snoring too,
Right.
but that's kind of sweet. The dog's being, that's like a mindfulness video. We breathe with the dog. Downward dog.
Downward dog. He does the downward dog thing.
Of course he does. He's a dog.
And Remeron gave me the side effects for that was, and I could deal with it, hyperphagia.
What's that mean?
No longer having the ability to feel full.
Oh, interesting. Do you gain weight?
Epic. They said you should expect to gain 15% of your body mass.
Wow.
So if you're 100 pounds, you'll be 115. If you're 150, you'll be 27.5.
Man, that was
177.5.
Right.
Which is like, all right, now you're getting up there. Dude, I would eat plate after plate of spaghetti, just keep going back.
Wow.
And then I have to tell myself, like, Ari, 4 plates of spaghetti is more than enough, right? So this is the fucking Remeron fucking with you.
Wow.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would just eat more. I would eat everything in the house. I would get high and couple it with that. And it was like game over.
But now you're not on anything.
So I was on this other pill for a while. The side effect was lightheadedness.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the pill, but it worked. Within 2 weeks, it was like everyone you try, you go on a low dosage and you keep going up every like week or two until like either works or doesn't work.
Right.
It was like started to work. I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel like this clouds lift. And he goes, all right, let's stay on this for a week. And I was like, still feel like it's cloudy, but not. He goes, let's go up another 0.25 milligrams. And then it was like, boom.
Well, then you get frightened of getting better. Do you have that where you're like, I feel better, but no, wait, but maybe hold on.
Like when
and then you
hiccups
pull
are gone.
yourself back down.
You're like, no, they're not gone yet.
Right.
Also, your reality becomes the depression or the anxiety.
Yes.
And you, with ego, you start liking your reality and start saying, this is better.
Right.
People from Boston, like, the weather's good for you. The shitty weather's good for you. And it's like, no, it's not.
Right.
That place sucks in the winter.
No, I have that all the time. I tell myself not to stop worrying because I feel like it's protecting me from one of the things happening. If I don't worry about it, it'll happen.
It's who you are.
Yes.
So then it's like, I don't want to say goodbye to this guy. That's me.
Of course, yeah.
And so it's really difficult.
Well,
also,
and it is
difficult.
It's a part of you.
Yeah.
So it feels like, and that part of you wants to survive.
Mm-hmm.
That part of you is also fighting back on
survival.
its own.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And
Good
it's still in there.
Yeah.
If your like new girlfriend, and the puppy died in a car wreck, which is extremely possible, could happen tonight, they would probably get down again,
Yeah, I might get down. I might get down.
You might not.
Yeah.
Also,
So then what happened is the clouds lifted. I suddenly felt like, wow, there it is. There's old me.
Right.
And I hadn't felt that way for a good 4 or 5 years. My ex-girlfriend that went through the depression with me, in between the wife and not being depressed, was so stoked for me. She was like, oh, when I went back and visited her, she's like, I could see it. Like, yeah, this is great.
Right.
It just worked. So it was a combination of the mushrooms and that, but so then what it did is we stay on there. It's not just like, boom, now get off the pills. Like, stay on the pills.
Right.
And then after like, I think 3 to 5 years in the pills. So my doctor, this high priced, really good therapist, psychologist, whatever he was. He goes, so what happens is a lot of these depressions last a certain amount of time and they would go away on their own. So what the pills do is just mask them while they're working themselves out.
Interesting.
Sometimes they don't go away on their own and they just last. If you keep walking on a broken leg, it will less likely heal. If you use a broken finger, it will heal.
Right.
So the only way to know, you can't do an X-ray on it. The only way to know if it's healed is to take off the mask.
Right.
And then you got to risk it. And they said the problem is there is a percentage of like, if you go off and like, oh, shit is still there, this pill might not work anymore.
Weird.
Yeah, the brain is so fucking strange.
Yeah, it's complex.
Yeah. So he said that. And he was like, we can try to wean off it. And I was like, and wean off it. Don't do what Brody did. And if you, so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to wait. It's not a big deal. It's just every morning while I brush my teeth.
Right.
I'm just going to stay on it. So I'm wasting $50 a month. That's what it was.
Right.
$50 a month. I'm going to not risk this. I'll keep taking it. But then it hit me like I hadn't really felt love. Like I hadn't been in love with a chick in like a few years. And I don't know if it was the pill or not. Stopping the highs and the lows,
Right, right.
I've been happy before, but no love. And I was like, I think I want to try to get off this. And so we talked about it and we weaned off it and it was gone. It was healed.
Right. I had that similarly with Paxil, similar thing.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't want to be on this anymore. Let me wean off.
Yeah.
And then I think sometimes I should be on, but.
Did you have this where you'd go like a day of anxiety or, because I'll get anxious on a day. I'll get depressed on a day. And then if it lasts like 2 days, I'm like, oh, fuck. Especially early on. Is it coming back?
Well, mine's just constant all the time. Mine's like 10 days. Mine's like 1 day off where I'm like, oh, I didn't feel anxious yesterday.
So
but then
deal with it all the time?
But yeah, but doing that is bad too, because then it's like you're keeping score and that just lowers you into it more. That you have this feeling, I wasn't anxious today. And then the next day you are anxious. You're like, fuck, I'm back to anxious again, where it has to just be a day at a time kind of thing.
You're fucking can't get a hit for a week. Then you go 4 for 5, like sweet. And the next day you go 0 for 3. And you're like, damn it, is it back?
Right. And even better analogy of that is like you pop out and you're like, I'm the fucking worst hitter. I'm never going to get a hit again.
And we all do that.
It's like,
comedy.
That was one at bat. Like,
we all do that in comedy.
Right. Exactly.
He said, and then you talk to somebody upstairs like that crowd sucked. And you're like, that makes you feel a little better.
Right.
But still, it like holds in you.
Do you ever have this? I've used this, and this is not healthy either, but it helps me. Where with like depression, where I get really down or anxious or depressed, really. But I will imagine my own death and people I love getting the news of my death and being like, all right, I better keep it together. And it allows me to feel love, which is not the best way to feel love. You should just be able to feel it anyways. I'm working on it. But like, I'm like, oh man, imagine because I'm like, my dad doesn't say
I love you.
Hello always or whatever. And it doesn't, but then I'm like, I imagine him getting a call of being like, yeah, your son's dead. And he'd be fucking devastated.
And so that helps you?
That helps me.
That's cool.
I mean, it's good. I mean, it's not the proper way to feel and accept love.
In that Vipassana meditation.
Yeah.
So what happens is you don't talk. You only study. You hear classes. The only time you can talk is if you ask a question to the fucking, yogi or whatever the fuck he is, the monk.
The bear.
Yeah. When he's like, I'm having trouble with this. How do you do this? But otherwise you don't talk. You just eat 6 a.m. and 11:30 a.m., not past noon. And then low protein shit and just think all the time. You're supposed to clear your head. And all it did for me was flood my brain with thoughts.
Right.
Thoughts of revenge, thoughts of sex. And so then they teach you, how do you get rid of those thoughts to go back to just thinking my foot's down, my toes down, my heels up, my toes up, my heels down, my toes down, And the way they did it with sexual thoughts, which happened, just so much, is imagine that person that you're feeling this lust for. Just know that's just a dude who feels lust. No big deal. Men feel lust, so don't feel down about it. Start imagining that person as 30 years in the future, the chick, withered and old and kind of gross. And you're like, great. Now imagine them.
46 isn't that old.
Now imagine them 30 years in the future after that. They
Right.
died. They're laying in a casket. Now imagine 30 years after that, worms are crawling through their sockets of their fucking.
Right.
And he goes, the boner should be gone by then.
That's interesting because that's like a thing I've read in these, all these Buddhist books and stuff too, is when you're fighting with your spouse or your whoever, friend, sibling, is like in the middle of the fight, picture that person 300 years from now, like a similar exercise of that, like we're all going to be
Nothing.
dust and bones. And you're like, well, you shut up. You're fucking dumb.
So this isn't that important.
And it's just like, what are we doing? Like we're going to be
So that's what the mushrooms tells you too. We're a speck on the plane of existence and time. We're nothing.
Right.
So enjoy yourself.
Yes. Enjoy yourself. That's a good lesson, right?
Yeah.
For the podcast. Enjoy it.
Jonah Ray had one. I don't know if you'll ever get him on a podcast for this.
I don't know who that is.
He's a comedian in LA. He did the reboot of Mystery Science Theater. It was like a dream job for him.
Sure.
He had depression. And he said the one thing that would bring him any light was this one burrito by his place in LA.
Yeah.
That couldn't happen here in New York. But
Chipotle, great burritos. Do you know it? It's cool. You get in line, and then like you can pick what you want specifically. You just point, like you kind of reach over the window and then point and say what you want. And then like a burrito expert guy.
Yeah, it's hard. I just in Southern California for too long to accept this.
No, there's good burritos here, I think. Probably somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Mexicans here.
It's mostly Puerto Ricans. And the problem is the Mexicans here cook for a Puerto Rican audience and Dominican audience. I don't know what it is, but it's very hard to come by.
I don't care for this idea of first of all, there's good pizza in California and there's good Mexican in New York.
Because they don't value it enough for it to be a high commodity thing.
Right. Okay.
Just like there's not many good lawnmowers here in Manhattan.
All right. That's fair.
You know what I mean? You can get one, but it's hard to find some guy who's great at mowing lawns because there's no reason for it. There is good pizza in LA, just not very much. And why would you have it? The idea of walking by and getting a slice is just like not a thing.
Right.
There's some good Mexican. When they say none, that means like it's hard to come by.
Right.
But the weed is just as good in New York. Like you're out of your mind. I've buried multiple people on this idea that their New York weed is just as good as LA weed. Whatever. Sidetracked. But the one good thing that his day was getting this burrito that he really liked, Jonah. And as he was eating it, he was like, fuck, this burrito's going to be over soon. I got to get right back to depression.
I eat all my meals like that.
So he came up with a saying, enjoy your burrito. It's like while you're eating this burrito, just let yourself enjoy the one good happy moment in your fucking day.
Right. Yeah. I have things like that. Like I feel this way with like Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, any live recording, particularly 75 to 81 in there, where I'm like, I know I have that to go to. I can put that in loud and I'll my spirits start coming up. So as long as I have an iPhone is the key to happiness, I think. No, but like as long as I have something to play this music, I'll have that. Right. You can jerk off and have an orgasm. You can fucking go to the park and look at a goddamn tree or lay in the grass. There's a lot to be grateful. And this is why gratitude lists are very helpful.
I was about to get to that.
Great.
So that's another way
I'm grateful
I got out
that
of
you are getting to that.
Yeah. It's another way I got out of it. Steve Simone. We always talk about our depression all the time.
Love Steve. I should have him on.
You should for sure have him on this type of podcast, for sure. We always both struggled with it greatly. We'd go to Santa Monica where we used to live, and we'd walk on the beach and just talk about how we get over these fucking horrible, either dating or just like the feeling of like, it's all shit before we knew we put a name on it of depression or anxiety or whatever.
Yeah. What are you guys from the 1850s?
What do you mean?
You're like before there was a name for depression.
Before we knew what it was.
Right.
You know?
I know. You made it sound like you're a fucking...
I love when people are like, people are depressed now. They weren't depressed in the 1800s. Like, yeah, they were. They just called it suicide. They didn't know what it was.
Right.
Like, I guess he lost his job or I don't know. When I saw that guy, Steve Lubeck, and it's like, he must have jumped off the roof because Mitzi wouldn't pass him. You're like, no, he had horrible depression.
Well, that's the thing that frustrates me with depression stuff. Where people are like, Robin Williams, he had an Oscar, he was rich. And you're
just
like, he's sick. He's a very sick person.
It had nothing to do with that. Just get over it. Just get better. Like, all right, thank you for your help. Get out of here.
Okay, but Steve Simone gratitude list.
This list you could do in the shower. So Nietzsche, and this is why it works, would say that when you verbalize something out loud, it takes a way more solid place in your brain. So you can feel, for instance, just to make this, and I'll come all the way back to it. There are people in your life, comedians who are around you, and sometimes you get a feeling of just like, eventually you're just like, same thing, where you're like, you don't say it out loud, but somewhere in the back of your head, you feel like, I don't like them.
Right.
You just feel negative thoughts when you're around them, but you don't say it. You don't say I don't like them. And then whatever, sometimes they'll be good, sometimes they'll be bad, but you just get this weird feeling of like, the way I felt about going clubbing when Rogan and his friends would go clubbing, and I'm an introvert and I didn't know how to put a name on it, like, oh, I hate nightclubs.
Right.
And then once I said I hate nightclubs, it was like so freeing. And it was like, yeah, no, you guys go. I'm just gonna go back to the hotel. I don't enjoy this.
Right.
And once you say out loud, I don't like that guy. From then on, they can't bring you joy. They can only bring you upset and uneasiness because you verbalize it and now it's solidified in your head. And it's almost monumental to get to the point where I'm like, I actually do like them now. I misjudged them early on. But when you say something out loud, like, be careful of that. You can even think like, I don't think I like them. But if you say it, that is solid now. That's what Nietzsche said. And I kind of agree with him.
Interesting. So do that with gratitude.
The gratitude, say it out loud. The best time I found was in the shower. 5 things every day that you're thankful for. And they shouldn't be monumental things. They could be, right. I just won an Oscar. But it could be, there's a new taco truck 2 blocks away. It could be 72 degrees today, first day over 70.
Right.
It could be those flowers are blooming, that my girlfriend got, or it could be like anything. Just 5 things out loud that you're thankful for. And after a few days of verbalizing that and solidifying in your head, your mood just gets lightened.
Right.
Call it gratitude, but
Put
it's just
some
like
gratitude in your attitude.
Yeah. And it just makes it so much easier. Or just like these Zoom recorders are really easy to use.
Right.
Little things.
The shower is a thing for me that's always like helps. You
have a high pressure shower.
Feel
Can be one of
better
the
after
things.
a shower.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I'm like physically sick, mental, whatever it is, I'm just like, let me get naked and hot and shower and and then fuck a guy in the butt.
Sure. Yeah.
That last part was an accident. I'll cut that out.
You probably cut it out. It's probably
speaking of cutting it out, I got to start to wrap up here because I got to go to therapy. Ironically.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
316. Yeah. So
Austin.
Yeah, interesting conversations, man. And you could have I think you could have multiple people on more than once. I mean.
Yeah, I'd like to do another one with you someday.
Yeah, down the road, like a year later or something.
A year, all right.
Less, whatever.
I thought we'd hang out sooner than that.
Yeah.
Do you feel better?
I'm thankful for you in my life. You're a good part of my life.
I'm extremely grateful. Well, you've been a big influence on my life. I feel like we have similar things, except you have less anxiety with it, of this thing of like, we have to go live. Let's get the maximum amount of
you and I are the 2 guys in common.
Yeah, that I feel like I'm like, let's get people together. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Let's try to do that.
I've said that in interviews. I'm like, they're like, when they're like, you go travel, you do fun stuff. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, Joe List is the other guy. He's the only guy making comics do things.
I've tried to do that. I've always tried. It's gotten harder now with headlining. Like I used to be like, I was a drunk too, but I was like, when you're featuring, it's a lot easier to go jet skiing during the day.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, we have 2 shows and I'm doing an hour and it's a whole thing.
I got the press. Yeah.
But at least, I'm trying and then taking days off and
we're similar like that for sure. Where it's like, let's live our lives. Go and see that band.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the greatest music scene maybe in the world.
Right.
Arguably for sure. And like, we go to not more than 2 shows a year. That's crazy ridiculous.
By the way, White Reaper just announced his opening for Pearl Jam on their tour.
Wow.
Worlds colliding.
That guy sent me their album.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get us some fucking PJ tickets.
Oh yeah, maybe, right?
But you hate them. But
I hate them. I just thought they were outshined that year. And it's all about like where you put your mind. They were good. I should just say they were good.
If you came with me, I feel like you'd be like, oh, wow. Because I'd be bouncing all over the place.
I know, but I just the LCD sound system was so fucking good.
All right. We can't get into this.
Dance yourself clean.
Too much. But no, I appreciate you doing it. It was fun. I always feel better after doing these. And
yeah, isn't it weird? You just say things, you realize other people like you, and you're just like, yeah, right. It's all pretty fucking good.
Well, and it's dialogue. I tend to isolate. I'm an isolator. So like I realize I'm like, oh, go and have human contact and
it seems like a kind of therapy for you. A little bit like that too.
Yeah, it's therapeutic. And I hope it's therapeutic for other people. So if it is, write to me and us and say we're nice people.
Have you considered doing this? Having an email address for people to write their therapy type questions in?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I've had this. Do you guys have any thoughts on this topic?
Yeah.
Having a mailbag episode.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Create it. All right. I got to go to therapy.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Well, you want to plug something?
I have a podcast called Ari Shaffir Skeptic Tank. Are you saving these up and then going to release them later?
Yeah, I'm going to do what you told me to do. I'm going to release like 4 in a day and then 1 a week after that.
I got to start a new podcast and it's the same thing. Like 5 already there. When are you thinking of doing it?
I think in the new year. I thought like new year, new me, new you, fucking let's do it.
Okay. Well, I have a special on Netflix called Double Negative, 2-part special. And I'm recording my next special February 7th and 8th at the Skirball Center in Manhattan, New York.
Hell yeah, I'm out of town.
Yeah.
It's over.
Okay.
Sad.
Yeah.
And then Sarah's doing her album the next day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Big weekend.
Her and I are combining for the 2 greatest recordings of New York.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love you guys.
Mindful Metal Jacket is hosted by comedian Joe List. Produced by Joe List. Edited by Matt Kleinschmidt. Executive producers Robert Kelly and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button Podcasts.